All right, welcome back. So one thing that I picked up from that I really want you to remember is that, remember she said you can break your formulas down into smaller formulas. So when you get into more complex Excel issues, they're going to show you all these nested formulas and all these complex ways to create a solution to problems, when sometimes it's easier to break them down into smaller pieces. If nesting comes naturally to you, or if you can get your spreadsheet off to the right foot, of course, it can solve multiple transactions all at one time. But don't be afraid to break them down into smaller columns and transactions like they showed you here. So now let me get back to our other lesson. I sent you some exercise files, and you may want to try moving and working with them as we go along. That's called our spreadsheet, and the one we're talking about now is over budget items. So here we have a coworker who has given us a simple budget. We have our category, what our projected expense is, and our actual expense. And so there are separate columns for projected and actual. So before we try to create our formula, let's think about the question, what are we trying to answer? Which expenses are over budget? So how do we know if something is over budget? So in this example, we can compare the projected and actual cost. So if the actual cost is higher than the projected cost, it's over budget. You've seen these in your calculator problems, and I try to tell you, if you reverse the numbers, you're going to get the right number, but one's going to be negative, one's going to be positive. So always ask yourself, is this one actually higher? If it is, then that's the one that's over budget, not under budget. So you have to compare the numbers. Then you have to decide how you're going to represent it into a formula. In this particular spreadsheet, we're going to subtract one value from the other to get the actual cost. So if the result is negative, do we know that the category is over budget? But if we expected to spend 14,000 and we actually spent 15,000, we subtract 15 from 14, and as a result would be a negative 1,000. So you're $1,000 over budget. So this is how it would look. You're going to take B and subtract C, and that's your answer. If the other way around, you didn't subtract in the right order. So if you thought you were going to spend 14, but you spent 15, your number needs to be negative because you are over this number. Now you can drag the fill handle like this, and it'll calculate it for all the rest of the rows, which is a really nice thing about Excel. You don't have to do this multiple times. So according to this problem, the spreadsheet gives us the answer, but it could be easier to read. We can filter the data to only show the rows that have a negative result. We could add conditional formatting to make the negative cells red, or we could select the data and create a chart, which makes it more visual. So all those are good possible solutions. One's not right, one's not wrong. But in this instance, if we add conditional formatting, you go up to the conditional formatting, you choose a rule that says looking for a value less than 0, and you're going to fill those values in with red. So these are the ones that are over budget. So, or you can go to your format numbers area, and under currency, you have an option to make your negative numbers simply red or red with parentheses around them. You can also just make it a negative number or a negative number with parentheses around it, but the red makes it stand out. So if you make them red, they'll be more visual. But these all stand for negative numbers. So now you can show this to your accounting department and everything will be easy to read and to understand. So now we're going to have a situation where we need to put items on sale. I gave you a spreadsheet called Excel formulas, the percent off sale. And here you notice we have two columns. One is the item and one's the item price. Then you have the discount you're going to give. And then after you put it on sale and discount it, what will the total be? So the original cost equals the sum B2 up here times B2 through B4. So that's your original sum. The total here, you added all of these. Now, we want to know the cost after the discount. So a discount is a percentage of the original price. It's a 15% discount. So if we make the problem easy, we'll break it down into two steps. Find the discount, that's 15% of $78. Then subtract it from the original total. So we know we need a formula that will calculate 15% of $78.77. Whenever you see of something in a percentage problem, it means you need to multiply. So whenever you hear what percent of this equals that, it's going to mean multiply. So when you're using percentages within formulas, you'll want to use them as decimals. And so 15% is which one of these numbers? I mean, you could just make it a percent, but if you don't have a percent available, which one of these numbers would equals 15%? This is an area where students get mixed up a lot in terms of percentages.
Bottom left.
Yes, you always take your decimal point and move it over 2 places. That will give you a percent. If you move this over, you have 1.5%. If you move this over, you've got 150%. If you move this over, you've got 1,500%. So this is the answer. So you would multiply the discount by 0.15 if you're using a decimal. And so here's your discount. And it's 1182. Then you can subtract 1182 from your original total and you get your discount after the total. And so you're going to save about $12. There's an alternative solution though, and this is something that you learn in your calculator course as well. If you work better with percentages than decimals, you could have just subtracted 15% from 100 and you get 85% of the original total. So if you multiply this times 85%, you're going to get the discount of $66.95. So that's the fast way to do it. And the next spreadsheet, I'm watching the time, is the one about basketball team statistics. So look at your spreadsheet for a minute. We have players, total game points for 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And we want to know how they scored in each game. So before we write the formula, we have to think about what we're trying to solve. Our friend wants to find out which player scored the most points. So which one of these are you going to use? A total A count, an average, or a sum?
Average.
Hmm?
Average.
Well, no, because that's not gonna add it up for you. If we go back, let's go to previous. So what we want to know is which one scored the most. So, well, maybe I'm not reading it right. I was going to put the total for everything on out here on the side. That's what I was going to do. Let's see if our creator of this lesson did the same thing. So you calculate the total points scored for Tanya in row 2. And so you do need to get the sum of each of these down here. So that's another way. I could have summed them up to the right or underneath. So for which one of these for Tanya are we going to, okay, so she is summing them up on the across horizontally. So which formula gives you the results for Tanya? A2
Oh.
through G2, B2 through F9, B2 through B9, B2 through F2.
B to the
Row 2, B, C, D, E, F.
B
This
to the
one
F.
will give you the total
That
for
one.
those columns, that row. So Tanya, if you right here on the side, put B2 through, the colon stands for the range, F2, all of these will give you the total. So here we have it, the total points across here. Now all you have to do is fill it down and you'll have everybody total points. So who scored the most? Well,
Ella.
Bella. Now, if you want that to be more obvious, you can do the conditional formatting or you can sort. So you could sort it in descending order to create something that's a little more visual. So you would select column G and then sort on the data tab. And then you would get something that looks like this very blurry screenshot, but the highest score down to the lowest. And that way you can rank them this way. That's, or you can create a chart, you can do the conditional formatting. So answer this question. How many points did each of the players score in their best scoring game? Their best scoring game. So what function are you going to use to find their best scoring game? Most valuable player, best, maximum, or minimum? Well, these aren't formulas, so you can eliminate those two.
Max.
It would be the maximum, the most. So their highest scoring game will go through this row and find which score was the highest. It was 25. So once again, you start with Bella, who's on top. You go across row 2 and include columns B through G. So row 2, B2 through G2. Yeah, we're going to stop here. So this is the formula that we're going to use to get our highest scoring game. And I think we can do one more quick one. This one is about movie tickets. You don't want to spend more than $50. The tickets are $11.75. So how much money do you have left over for drinks and popcorn after you buy all the tickets? So you can use a spreadsheet to crunch those numbers. The tickets are $11.75. So here's your ticket cost. You need 4 tickets, one for you and your friends. So he didn't want to spend more than $50, so there's his budget. So now you're going to have to do some calculations. You want to know how much money he'll spend after buying tickets. So we're going to simplify the program, the process, figure out how much the tickets will cost, and then subtract that amount from the total budget. So the tickets are going to cost B2 times B1, and you're going to put the answer down here, $47. So what have you got left over? Then you take B4 and subtract it from your budget, and you have $3 left over. That's not going to buy many popcorns or drinks in my theater, but that's how it works. So you'll, wait a minute. Now if we go to a budget movie, a matinee, you can go to $7.25 and you'll have $21 left over. So now you can figure out, this is a better move. Let's go to a different theater and we'll save some money if we go to the matinee. So this gives another way to solve the problem. We have two different formulas, but you could do it all in one. Notice we left off one row here. So you can take B3, which is your budget, and then subtract B1 times B2, and you'll get the same answer. You always multiply first, by the way. So this will work out without parentheses because the order of operations says you multiply before you add and subtract. So this is going to give you the answer, then you can subtract it from B3. So that's combining the formulas. I'm not going to go through this, but I sent you links if you want to do some party planning games and use Excel formulas. You can plan a birthday party or a pizza party by using these formulas. So I'm going to stop recording.